Hey, welcome. Welcome to this Thirsty Thursday edition of Liquid Lunch. Dow up 20 points. Employment numbers this morning, another 1.4 million jobless claims in the last week. Most of the estimates around the street for like 1.8 million. So the 1.4 was okay, marginally better. I did do an appearance yesterday on Newsmax after Liquid Lunch where they can broadcast. And on Newsmax, I made a direct plea to the president to instruct his Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin, to stop collecting payroll taxes effective immediately. That's all the president has to do. And I don't know why he's not doing it. And I don't care who's in his ear. I know Larry Kudlow and Stephen Moore would think that this is a smart way to do it. And you can easily give relief. You can give a holiday. The market would go nuts. The market will go to 30,000. Forget about everything I've been saying that it needs one more clean out. If they give a straight payroll tax cut, tax holiday, okay, they're giving people a holiday. They're no longer collecting payroll tax from you. So on all your employees, there's just about 14% in there. The employee gets 7 in their paycheck. The employer gets 7 in his pocket. And for those of you who don't really understand this whole stimulus package, people are saying, well, if they give a payroll tax, that's the rich people and it's the big businesses. No. 65% of the employees in America work for small businesses, make up 30 million small businesses. That's under 500 people. And 65% of those companies, if they got another 7%, figure a good company makes 25, 30% annual. If they got 7% of their payroll, which is either their first or second largest expense, that's a big increase on their net profit. So what will you do? Maybe buy a new piece of equipment. So some factory somewhere, hopefully in the US, is making some new equipment. So people are working. And then they got, whoa, we got another piece of equipment. So then maybe they hire another person. Or you don't need a new piece of equipment, but you want to get a little bigger coming out of COVID. You got an extra 7% from X amount of employees. That's all in the bank. Okay, well, we can afford now to hire another person. And by the time the end of the year comes, when they start collecting payroll taxes again, the growth will be bigger than the cost that they bore. And they got it started with the payroll holiday. So very simply, the government, our president right now could come out at 2 o'clock today after the show and say, I am instructing my Treasury Secretary, Steve Mnuchin, effective immediately to halt the collection of payroll taxes. That's it. Bing! We ring the bell. The market's up 1,000. Most small business owners are rejoicing. And all these people who are thinking about going back to work, if they come out with a stimulus bill that doesn't have $600 in it, maybe it has 200 or 300, that puts them right on that line of, well, maybe I should go back to work. And they go back to work. They get 7% more in their paycheck now. So maybe that makes up for the 200. I don't know, probably not. But, 7% is still better than nothing. And when this is over, then all these people are going to be solidly entrenched in their jobs. And if you ask me, with all the stuff going on around the world, all of the heightened rhetoric with China, I think more and more things are going to start getting manufactured here in America. And there's going to be a hell of a lot more jobs out there. Joining me right after this, hopefully, Erin Elmore from USA Strong to talk about our relations with China. We're just kicking off hour one here, and it's a troublesome day for me. I am aggravated beyond recognition, or you may be able to recognize it. But my good friend who joins me right now, Erin Elmore, is aggravated, and she's doing something about it with our relations between China and the USA, and she's the executive director of USA Strong. Recently wrote your op-ed on selective activism and only some lives matter. I've been saying it for a while, and I think the better hashtag is Black Votes Matter. Tell us about selective activism, Erin.
Well, good morning. Good afternoon. How are you?
All right.
Hey. I hate to see that you're aggravated.
Yeah.
But what I am aggravated about is the NBA. And let me just tell you, I haven't watched a minute of sports really ever in my life. I could care less about sports. But what I do care about is hypocrisy. And you see all of these NBA players going on the court wearing Black Lives Matter across their chest with stoic expressions on their faces. And the court has the words Black Lives Matter spelled out in giant letters. And the problem I have is this. We all think, right, that slavery is terrible and that everyone should be treated equally. And that to me is a point that I can get behind. Well, I'm going to go even deeper here. Black lives do matter. Black Lives Matter Inc., by the way, the organization, they are not a charity, okay? They are not a 501c3. They are a Delaware incorporation, which is a business like Starbucks or McDonald's or the Gap. So what are they doing? Ask yourself, what are they doing to build up the community, to help African-American businesses, to help African-Americans who are out of work, to help African-American children that don't have any place to go for meals during school hours or for help with their schoolwork? So first of all, inherently, there is something wrong with Black Lives Matter Inc. because they're not really helping Black lives to matter. Going back to the NBA, you see all these players purporting to care about human life and slavery. Well, they are deeply tied to China because of viewership and rights and sporting agreements over there and merchandising deals. But guess what's going on in China? There are literal concentration camps of a people called the Uyghurs. They are an ethnic minority, mostly Muslim who are speaking Turkish. But these people are literally imprisoned in concentration camps, killed for their organs. The women are sterilized, forced into abortion. They are treated terribly. Their children are often sold into manufacturing slave labor. And guess what these slave laborers are making? Nike uniforms and Nike shoes that are worn by people like LeBron James in the NBA. So what do you have to say about that today, John Tabacco?
Well, Erin, I've been saying it for a couple of weeks now. It is right up the alley of what you're talking about with selective activism. You got LeBron James making hundreds of millions of dollars, basically selling kids $200 pairs of sneakers. And at the same time, he's talking about slavery and reparations and how the African-American man has been held down. Uyghurs are being religiously persecuted in China. They're being rounded up and taken to factories. So the communist Chinese government is actually engaging in slave labor that are making the shoes that make LeBron James rich. So in my view, LeBron James is like a slave owner, if you think about it, because he's profiting from the products being made by religious persecuted slaves.
And so what bothers me is this phony, fake activism. I don't think as the American people, we should sit idly by and watch this kind of behavior occur. And you know what? The only good thing I can say about it is their ratings are absolutely in the gutter, and rightfully so, because I think the American viewer is fed up with this. They realize that what these basketball players and what the National Basketball Association is doing is totally pandering. And honestly, I'm going to use a real clever word here, baloney.
One of my favorites when I was a kid, a little bologna sandwich. But I'm glad you used that word instead of the alternative. Thank you for that. Erin, isn't it also selective activism, when a guy like George Floyd, and nobody wants to see a person killed by a cop, okay? I'm putting that on the record, right? But a guy with multiple felonies, he kidnapped a woman at knife point. The guy did not have a stellar record. Now the tapes came out yesterday. You see how he was asking not to be put in a car. I'm not justifying the guy's treatment of him, but here in New York, we had a 1-year-old kid shot, African-American kid. And Reverend Al Sharpton's not at his funeral. The kid's not in a gold casket, and there's no $14 million GoFundMe page for the 1-year-old black kid. How come, it's only black lives who are alleged to be hurt or abused by cops? That's, and that's really what they should call it.
There's so many ways to address this, but the one thing everyone, Democrat, Republican, Independent, American, Canadian, Mexican, everyone in the world agreed that what happened to George Floyd shouldn't have happened. And what that cop did by sitting on his neck shouldn't have happened. This was an issue that everyone agreed upon. Everyone agreed upon it. But every Black life has to matter. What about these abortion clinics that are often in African American impoverished neighborhoods that are forcing the abortion and allowing, rather, the abortion of several Black babies? Do those Black lives matter? I think all of these Black lives have to matter.
Yeah, and I was joking around before, kind of, but it's true. Most of these cities where we're seeing these, riots and protests, they're all run by blue mayors. Many of the states are blue states, like New York, like Oregon, like all these places, right? Philly. So at the same time, most of those same cities, I don't know if you remember last year or a year and a half ago, Trump said that Baltimore was a rat-infested city, and he took a beating. I did a little research, and Orkin, the pest company, had the top 10 rattiest cities in America. A rodent company, and they were all they were New York, Baltimore, San Francisco, right? The same blue cities were the rattiest cities, the most rodent-infested, and the same ones hit worse by COVID, worse schools, worse hospitals. So those Democratic politicians come in every 4 years for their votes, but they haven't done one thing to change the people's way of life. So, I thought a good alternative would be all Black votes matter, not Black lives matter, Black votes, because that's really all these career politicians are out there for, is the Black vote.
Absolutely, and it's truly sad. I saw something on Fox News the other day that said shootings, I believe, in Philadelphia, just by way of reference, because that's where I'm from, are up 56%. And I believe shootings in New York City from the same time last year were up something like 74%. Those are both bastions of democracy, in quotation marks,
right.
Democrats, rather. And they're destroying these large cities. I, today, put my condo on the market because I don't want to live in this kind of world any longer with such fear and people that don't want to have police. And I want to live somewhere safe, secure, and protected, where the police do protect me and that the community is safe. And we don't have police-free zones and autonomous zones and encampments. And one of the nicest areas in Philly, there's a homeless encampment right now with people defecating on the street.
Horrible.
This is not acceptable.
No, it isn't. And you know what? We're both rooting for the president big time. I know that. I know you're doing everything you can as the executive director of USA Strong to remind Americans that we got to continue to fight the Chinese communist regime. And I know you guys are non-political, non-partisan. You're just trying to keep awareness out there about, what our relations need to be with China and how dangerous they are to us. But I think the one focused message that the president's team should really zero in on is what you just said. People, women primarily, right? They want to feel safe. People, right. Parents, they want their kids to be safe. So I think the president, the riots might be working in his favor for one side because he can point at them and say, that's what you got coming. But I think people overall that I'm talking to, and predominantly women that are supposedly hating Trump, want him in there because they believe he'll keep us safe.
I was going to add to that point, and I agree with you completely. Do you think that the average suburban mother doesn't want her child to go back to school in the fall? Do you think the average suburban mother wants to defund the police? I would think that these Democrats would think out their strategy a little more thoroughly, because these moms are going to vote Trump, because otherwise they're going to have children that have absolutely no education, a mother that has to start drinking wine at noon, and these kids that know nothing and have no police in their communities. No one wants that.
And then also take a look at, the manifesto that Joe Biden signed on to. We could have no schools, no police, no trains, planes, or automobiles either. We could just be a prehistoric nation again. Erin, thank you so much. You are the bomb. And I love the new backdrop. Your book selection is wonderful.
Yes, you were a big part of that backdrop. And can I also just say, next time I come on, maybe next week, I'm trying out another backdrop. So you'll You and your viewers will have to tell me
Excellent.
what you like better.
All right.
And can you just tell everyone to follow us at Proud USA Strong?
Proud USA Strong. I'll promote it the whole show. All right, Erin Elmore, you're the bomb. Thank you so much. We will catch up with you guys in just a minute. Break down some. All right, welcome back. It's Thirsty Thursday edition of Liquid Lunch. Dow doing decent, up 31 on the day. Nothing tremendous happening there. Bitcoin still on a roll, 11.8. As I mentioned to you last week, it was 9,000. That if it broke through 10,300, I thought it could go to the teens. 12.3 is my next break point. It's at 11.8, 500 points from here, and you'll see a $13,000, $14,000 Bitcoin, which will be good news for anybody who's partaking in diversifying their portfolio with some Bitcoin. Overstock rager of a day yesterday hit 98 bucks. Today at 94, down just a smidge, but sometimes they have to breathe when they have these big runs. They got to take a breath for a day or two. Tomorrow's options expiration, so I expect tomorrow there to be some crazy action. Many people, I'm sure, will be covering. Many shorts are stuck bad. I think Overstock could be 100 tomorrow. So put that in your pipe and smoke it. Now, I have been raging on this show on and on and on about how Christopher Columbus is just a simple target for the Antifites and the anarchists and the Black Lives Matter paid protesters. Because, you know, Italians, not a small group, by the way. I think African Americans, like 14% of America. Italian American heritage is like 6%. So it's, you know, not that small of a group. But, you know, they don't go out and protest. They go to work. They lay bricks and they do, you know, hard, they work. So they're not conditioned to be protesters. So I feel like somebody's got to speak up for Columbus. He found the place. He found America. The Nina, the Pinta, and Santa Maria. In 1942, he sailed the ocean blue. Remember all that stuff? That's why they call it the District of Columbia, where the capital is, Columbia for Columbus. This guy might be the guy that many people can identify with and maybe start a little grassroots movement to protect Columbus. But my friend Carla sent me this video. A couple other people sent it to me after. But just take a listen to this dude, okay? And think about what he's saying and think about why we should be a little more outraged when people want to start ripping down Christopher Columbus statues. Take a look at this.
All you little bastards that knocked down the Christopher Columbus statue. I guess you thought you were real cute. Well, you know, I really don't care about Christopher Columbus either. But as an Italian-American man who came from 4 grandparents from Italy, I care about the people that statue represented. What a lot of you little bastards today don't know is, many years ago, the Italian kids from Summit and New Providence were discriminated against just as much as anybody else was today. And they never cried, they never complained, they never knocked down statues and protested. All they ever did was fight for this country. They went to war for this country. They fought for it, they bled for it, and they died for all you little today that knock down statues. That's what they did. They gave up their dreams to fight for this country. And you know what? You little bastards didn't knock down Christopher Columbus. You knocked down a lot of guys I knew all my life. Guys who were like dads and brothers to me. That's who you knocked down. You knocked down guys like Larry Fabrizio and Johnny Nigro. Larry Masterbone and Johnny Giannetti. Raymond Sorelli, Jimmy Castaldo, Sal Pino, Jimmy and John Luciano, Pat Riola. You knocked down 2 guys from Summit who never came home. Sam Colangelo, Bobby Petracco. They fought for the freedom you have today to be the that you are. But I totally can't even blame you, you little bastards. I blame your parents, because they ain't worth the powder to themselves to hell. The only thing I'm happy about is someday you're going to see those guys I named. I wouldn't want to be you. God bless this beautiful country and all you little bastards that have the freedom those guys fought for. Goodbye.
You know, a lot of people say that I, call it like I see it. I say it as it is. Nobody said it better than that guy. Larry Fabrizi, Jimmy and John Luciano never came back from the war, Sam Colangelo. I don't know any of these people. But you could tell what the guy was saying was Italian people, that was something that they looked up to. And they went to war for the country. And if they have one person that deserves a monument, leave their monuments alone. Because you're actually knocking down those people that came and looked up to that and then went to war for us to fight for the actual freedoms and liberties that allow you to go out and rip down statues like a bunch of thugs. So, it gets crazier by the minute. If you are watching and you're used to tuning in on our social media, don't, because we still can't figure out how to stream live on Facebook. But we are streaming on YouTube to the 7 people that know we're streaming on YouTube, which is, now it's 9. Okay, great. We're making progress. But you can check us out on YouTube at Liquid Lunch TV. And if you're watching, T.A. Garcia is watching. Amal found us. That's good. All right, very good. They're finding us little by little. Maybe we'll just use YouTube from now on rather than figure out how to use Facebook also. Erin Elmore wrote a great op-ed on that, and if you missed it in the first segment, but on selective activism. And you got to check out Erin's organization, USA Strong. They're a nonprofit. They're committed to raising money to keep reminding people how bad China treats us and try to encourage people to start new businesses, to manufacture things here. Buy USA. The more and more we can get China out of our life, the better and better we are. That's a fact, okay? And when you want to talk about socialism, this Black Lives Matter group are a bunch of Marxists, okay? And they want to be socialists. You got Bernie Sanders and AOC and Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and all these folks that want to take us so left. Joe Biden has signed off on the progressive left agenda, okay? And truthfully, one of Bernie Sanders' top campaign chiefs came out and said voting for Joe Biden is like eating a half a bowl of turd. So for all the craziness in the Communist Manifesto that Joe Biden signed on to, raising your taxes, reinstituting a death tax, a personal wealth tax, they want to tax you on money you've already been taxed on. AOC is going to be the green czar under Bernie, under a Biden presidency, and she's committed on the record to eliminating fossil fuels completely. That's coal, gas, oil, all that good stuff. I think 2 million workers in the country, 10 million workers in the country are around those fracking and oil and all these other businesses. So when you're thinking about, wow, they're with Black Lives Matter and they're with George Soros and they're with defund the police and they're with defund oil and gas and everything else. The cities are burning where you got these progressive mayors. You got to take a look at it and say, even if you're a Democrat, all right, you got to take a look at it and say, that's what they want. And they're actually saying it outward that what Joe Biden's for is only half of what they want. So it's going to probably double that. Because Joe Biden's on his last legs. Trump said it the other day. He's like a puppet. He's a vessel. He's just a vessel to carry a whole bunch of progressive views. And, I don't know. I'm ranting and raving because I'm just having a bad morning. But you're making it better for me. And, we bring you the best guests on Liquid Lunch. About 6 months ago, we had on my buddy Chris Carter, who's going to join us next. He's a cybersecurity expert and CEO of Aproyo. And, he was telling us that TikTok is a very dangerous thing and want to get an update from him because he's been following it from the beginning. And he told us all this long before anyone else figured it out. Quick break, more Liquid Lunch coming back, hopefully in just a few minutes. Okie dokie, welcome back. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tabacco, coming to you live from the Corona Bunker Studios in Staten Island, New York. And you know what? Since the day we started this show, Frank Morano and I said, we're not going to just go out and get every author who's out with a book and all these, second-rate people. Let's get real people. Let's get real people in business, real people who've run for office, real people who've raised money in the philanthropy, real people in the arts. And I, picked up this saying, the people that know where the rubber meets the road, like they're in there. Most of the people you see on television, on CNBC and MSNBC, they get paid to go on television. They don't really have practical knowledge. Maybe they had it years ago, they're an academic, but they're talking heads because they get paid to talk on TV. I like the people that do things and talk about what they do and how they got there. Like this guy, my good friend joins me right now, Chris Carter. He's a cybersecurity expert, CEO of Aproyo. And Chris, way before the COVID quarantine, you were on the show and you were warning Americans that the U.S. government had banned military personnel and private sector personnel from having TikTok on their phone, and you thought it was a spying tool. 6 months later, it turns out you knew exactly where the rubber met the road because Trump is trying to force the sale of the thing right now. What can you update us on there?
Yeah, JT, it's exploded. Look what's going on now. Our president has actually given them a deadline, September 15th. You are either out of the country or you will be sold to an American entity that will run you as an American entity under American rules and responsibilities. And it's really came to that head. Too many times they've been stealing data. The Communist Party actually put into place that they could take data of any technology company in China and they have full access to it. And unfortunately, ByteDance has that. They are a Chinese-run and owned company, and all of your data is 100% theirs if they so wanted it.
I've tried to talk about this topic with people that don't, fully understand, organizational structure of companies and stuff like that. What a lot of people in our country who are smart, they don't realize that Chinese companies are owned by the government. Anything that's big and successful that the government lets out of their country means they run it. They're all nationalized, these companies, right?
Correct. They are nationalized. And because of that fact, any data goes to the Communist Party and goes to the communist government itself. So you as an entity there, you're screwed. You've got to do what they say or you will be, who knows where they're going to send you for jail, but you're done with.
So, Chris, I had a former CIA cyber guy on, and he was talking about this TikTok issue. No, you were the canary in the coal mine. You were the first guy that I ever saw talking about the threat on this thing. But we've followed up as stories popped up here and there. And I asked the guy about this. Hey, how dangerous could it be? And he said, well, if the way Chinese technology is so advanced that if they get in your kid's phone and then your kid's phone is in the house and you have computers in the house, they may be able to get into your Wi-Fi and get on your computers. They may be able to disable your alarm system. They may be able to shut the power down if you have a Siri that's connected to your thermostats. So one phone could actually hand over control of your whole household to China, right?
Everything you own, including all your bank accounts, because all of your bank account apps are on there. I know I have my bank accounts and my stock accounts are on my phone. All of that can be taken over by the Chinese Communist government because of that one application, TikTok, that you allow your children to use.
Right. So, I have a background in financial technology and blockchain technology and crypto and stuff. But a lot of people don't know. You hear the term Internet of Things, right?
IoT, yeah.
The IoT is what that phone unlocks. And, they have smart refrigerators now. They have smart scales now. Everything's smart. And once they get in that phone and get some hack into your passwords, they literally could control your life. They can almost shut your car down.
Well, actually, they can shut your car down.
Yeah.
There was an episode of the news magazine 2020 that actually had a hacker who shut down a Jeep Cherokee Sport and literally took control while the reporter was driving the car. Absolutely can happen, and it's because of that app. So I'm not going to say my 12, 13-year-old kids are the smartest, But when I tell them not to put that app on there, it's for a reason.
No doubt. All right, so I want to toast you now because my team did some yeoman's work right there while we were chatting. And I want to show our audience, I want to give you a little credit here. And when people are wrong, I do it too. But when they're right, we got to give credit. Here's Chris 6 months ago, right here on Liquid Lunch, talking about the dangers of TikTok.
TikTok is a Chinese-based organization, and one of the things that you've got with TikTok is it is now 3 different companies that is basically headquartered in China, developed by China, and they're using that information. What you saw actually just last week alone, they had their servers where they were sending data from the United States back into China, which is against the rules and regulations of the Data Security Act. It's also one of the rules that was put into place when they did that several years ago as well. And the United States said, you must not have any of the United States data hosted on Chinese servers. Unfortunately, they are still doing it and still pulling off that scam today.
Wow. Here's to you, my friend. Thank you. You make us look good by doing stuff like this.
Brother. I'm just trying to keep us Americans safe. We need this. We need people to like you and us to make sure that it happens.
Thank you so much. I know you're always there for us. I know you subscribe to the page and you follow us. That clip I just showed, folks, was from December of 2019 when Chris Carter was with us. A little tighter haircut back then, I noticed. I
got the Corona hair going on.
Yeah, I know the feeling. But no, you were right on point then. I remember we were talking about this, and when you left, that was like maybe the second time I had you on, and I was like, this guy knows what he's talking about. It doesn't sound like TikTok. It seems like a benign thing, but that's how clever they are, right?
Yeah. Oh, very much so. They are a very clever group of technologists. And what makes it more interesting is they just bought a data center in Ireland to deal with the European data laws. Now with Microsoft looking at possibly acquiring them, if Microsoft can really acquire them and dig through their code and get rid of all the spyware, that could be really good for Microsoft and the next generation that they're looking to sell to. But if they can't, still have some heartache, at least up front. With TikTok as a United States entity from Microsoft, could be a very interesting next 6, 12, 18 months with TikTok, Microsoft, and whoever possibly acquires them.
Well, you know what scares me when I hear Microsoft, and this is like there's a lot of legs to this. There's a lot of tentacles to this hydra, right? Bill Gates has, no experience in the social media app space, right? He was, he built a operating system that he basically stole from someone else. But, at the end of all days, that's not their business line, right? At the same time, Bill Gates is out there, the predominant expert on vaccines, another thing that I don't know where he gets his expertise from, right? And then if you go a little deeper, Bill Gates and the Gates Foundation is one of the biggest funders to the WHO. And the WHO is pretty much run lock, stock, and barrel by China. So I feel like the connection actually gets back there. I know for a fact Ireland has Microsoft has subsidiaries in Ireland. And I know you're telling me China has subsidiaries in Ireland. So who's to say that Gates is not going to be over there talking to his friends in China and say, all right, guys, come on over here. I got this thing. Here's your money back. Let me keep a couple billion that I could give away to the AW. I see a conspiracy. Why isn't it put for bid? Hey, we're taking this thing back. It's out for bid. Why does Microsoft just get it?
Yeah. Maybe Google will try and attack it. Maybe Facebook will attack it, even though they've got their Instagram Reels now. But, you're right. There are so many different flows with the way this activity is going on from a security, from a nationalization standpoint. You just don't know where this is going to go, JT. You just don't know.
All right, man. Well, we got to leave it there. I thank you so much. Let's me and you catch up on email, and we'll have a chat this week and see how we can help each other. What are you drinking?
I am drinking a Macallan Amber Scotch, 18 years.
Yeah, yesterday I took out this whole Macallan 15, so I'm relegated to Punzoni vodka martinis. But thanks for all your help. Thanks for always being there for us, brother, and we'll talk to you soon.
You got it. Thank you, sir.
That's Chris Carter, CEO and founder of Aproyo. He's a cybersecurity expert, and he told us in 2019 that TikTok was a major threat to your safety and privacy from China. That's what we do here. We bring you the best guests. We're going to keep doing it in an hour or two. We're going to rock it. Joe Pinion's going to be here. Johnny Burnett and David Eisenbach are going to mix it up. We are going to kill it. But next, we talk to our data and markets expert, Joe Hagan, CEO of Wealth Colony. He's going to be right here, right after this.
For more Liquid Lunch, head over to YouTube, do a search for Liquid Lunch TV, and hit that subscribe button.
All right, welcome back. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV, ripping through the first hour. We are making some significant advances in the technological and production area as we get through the fourth day this week. We're still struggling with Facebook. They're probably screwing with us a little bit because we're starting to kick butt on there, and now they're hitting us with some hurdles here that we're trying to get over, but we'll beat them like we always do. And beating the markets is what everybody wants to do, and since 2019, my next guest, Joe Hagan, the CEO of Wealth Colony, has been coming on the show and talking about Datadog, and the stock is like doubled. I don't even know where it is today. I didn't look at it, Joe, but you've been on that thing from day one. Well, give us a little update in that area.
So yeah, Datadog actually is one of those days that if you're thinking of buying it, today's a perfect day. Just like one of the last times I was on your show, I said, hey, it hit 98. Look for a pullback. It pulled back to 85. Great way to jump in. It retraced all the way back to 95 yesterday. Today it's back down 6. It's a day like today is a buyer's day for Datadog. It's up close to 200% in the 9 or 10 months since we've been talking about it, and I think it's got more room to go.
All right. Well, we'll keep our eye on that. And I mean, we just had on Chris Carter, is the CEO of Aproyo, and we were talking about the Internet of Things. And I mean, just every single day we're getting closer and closer to this big data society. It's where everything is going. But Joe, the markets are crazy. The market's doing okay today, up 30 in the 27,000 range. But I see a lot of volatility with the COVID, with the election. And, you know, some people think they missed the run. Other people think it's going to tank again and there'll be a buying opportunity. But the volatility, the big swings, they give people heartburn. They give people agita. I wanted to talk to you today about, you know, in a time when interest rates are so low, non-correlated investments. And I will just disclaim it by saying both Joe and I are shareholders in InvestView. We both have worked for a subsidiary of InvestView called Apex. So we do have a dog in the fight. But tell people about non-correlated and income production a little bit, Joe.
Yeah, sure. So like you just described, who wants more wrinkles ahead of time by having all of your retirement money and more stress overexposed in the market? You know, I love the stock market, but I don't think there should be overexposure. I think a lot of people are really interested in non-correlated, meaning your funds are not in the market. They're not subject to the volatility of the next pandemic, of the next geopolitical event, an election, you know, a war, a bomb going off, whatever. So more and more people want that, you know, want some sense of security, but they want that passive income. And, you know, I've done a webinar on one of the companies that I help people understand when they have money in a 401k or an IRA. Traditionally, they can move it into a self-directed IRA, and they could buy real estate. They could buy what we do with data mining equipment. They could buy that and lease it out for someone who really knows how to use that equipment and monetize that. And in return, they can turn around and get 20% a year. So when you take, right, just a traditional IRA or 401k that's in a diversified portfolio, it's making 6% a year. So say you have 150 grand in a diversified portfolio making 6% a year. At 5 years, that'll be worth 200 grand. Okay. If you have that same portfolio making 20% a year for 5 years, it'll be worth 300 grand, not 200 grand. So you're making an extra 100,000. And with an insurance policy, you have protection of principal, right? So you don't have that in the stock market. So it's a way to really smartly move some of, if not a lot of your money from the volatility of the market into an investment that's asset backed has protection and is paying you or your self-directed IRA directly. And I've given a quote or a stat, I should say, John, once before. We're not alone in identifying this. It's very popular. Price Waterhouse recently put out a report that since 2018 to 2020, there's been 60% growth in alternative asset-backed investing. The market is up to 15 trillion.
Wow.
So, yeah. So Forbes wrote an article that said you should have at least 30% of your portfolio in an alternative asset-backed investment, and if you're really conservative, 20%. So, we're not alone in recognizing it's a smart way to really improve your portfolio, and also, make it more volatility-proof, from the market swings, and that's what non-correlated means.
Right. So, just a crib note on that. Non-correlated is you're buying something, it has a dividend, and it's not going to be subject to the swings of the market because it's worth whatever its income generation will be. So they're kind of stable. Joe, InvestView made a nice announcement on the preferred offering, and it's public now. I know we've known about it a little while the preparation was going on. This press release just came out today that InvestView pays their preferred quarterly dividend. So they paid the quarterly dividend to preferred shareholders of 81 cents per share on June 30th. To all holders of preferred share as shown on the transfer records of the company. So this product, the InvestView Preferred, publicly traded, new class of stock, they talked about it. They said they were going to do it. Now they're doing it, paying 13% a year. So if you're interested and want to know more about how you can get 13% a year, you got a whole team waiting there, right, Joe?
Yeah, we have agents. Book an appointment at calendly.com/wealthcolony. It's run it by you real quick. We'll show you how to do it directly without a middleman and commissions and everything else. But I like saying non-correlated to the market. In this case, technically, InvestView is a preferred share, the INVUP that'll trade, in the market. But literally, all of 3 years of interest are sitting in escrow waiting to pay you. And you're also going to get some comments. So don't forget, the reason why smart institutions love these deals is they're going to get their return 13%. If you had, I don't know, $1,000, $5,000, $100,000, whatever you're comfortable with, you have that sitting in a bank. If you own the preferred for the last quarter, you just made 3.25%. That's more than if you had in the bank for more than a year. No one's paying 3%. I think even on CDs, right? So you can get your return, okay, and you get additional extra common shares thrown into the deal, which on the 13% can add up to another 25, 50, 100%, depending on how high that stock goes. But that stock, that risk is mitigated by the fact that you own the preferred, the interest payments are sitting in an escrow account for the next 3 years, and the common, I like to call it, is gravy. So that's a smart way to approach it.
All right, well, at least we're on the same page on that, too. I call it gravy, too, not sauce. But, Joe, thanks so much for joining us today. You guys out there, if you want to know some more about how you can add alternative investments and passive income to your portfolio or your self-directed IRA, you got to go to wealthcolony.com. Reach out to Joe. We're friends for years. He'll treat you like family. And you can always reach out to me, too. Joe Hagan, thanks a lot, brother.
Thank you, John.
All right. We'll take a quick break right here. We'll come back right after this and kick off hour 2 of a Thirsty Thursday edition of Liquid Lunch. Be right back.
5, 4, 3, 2.
All right, welcome back. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tabacco, kicking off hour 2. Whopper of an hour 2 today. Let me tell you, we got Johnny Burnett and David Eisenbach are going to be here, Democrat, Republican. They're going to mix it up like they always do. And my man Joe Pinion is going to join me right after this. And he's going to be talking about Joe Biden's VP pick. And pretty much everybody who votes for Joe Biden is going to be voting for his VP because he doesn't look like he has the capacity to even keep himself sane. I do want to use this moment here to talk about, we got a tremendous amount of feedback from a post we did on a restaurant being shut down here in Staten Island, New York. And it wasn't all Staten Island people. It was people who are just outraged by the government overreach that's going on. And, you know, my good buddy, former Congressman Vito Fossella, sent me a link this morning just about when it hit the news. I'm up from 6 o'clock in the morning looking at stuff. And the new thing in New York is they're setting up roadblocks. They're setting up checkpoints for people coming into New York. It's literally becoming a Gestapo state, okay? And I don't know. When they say they don't want large gatherings except if they're protests, what do you say at the checkpoint? I'm going to a protest? And then you're allowed in? Is that how you get in? Andrew Cuomo was on TV yesterday talking about how he's calling all his friends that lived in New York and now moved to the Hamptons in Connecticut, and he's asking them, hey, can you come back? We need you to come back because we need your tax money. But hey, can you come back? Come on. Let's get together. Come on back. Yeah, come on. Let's get some dinner. Let's grab a drink. I'll cook you dinner. He almost forgot that it's his rules that are not allowing anyone to have a drink or dinner. I went out last night to meet some of my friends, playing a bocce league, an outdoor bocce league at a local restaurant. Bocce is canceled because the restaurants are so scared of the sheriff and the executive orders that rather than even make it look like people might be near each other, we know one case here in Staten Island where I saw the video myself. The inspectors from the state liquor authority said they couldn't tell if people had masks on from the photos that they had. They thought they saw people congregating around the pool and under the tent. Lo and behold, I spoke to the business owner. They don't have a pool or a tent. So they basically shut them down without a warning based on no evidence whatsoever other than arbitrary and capricious action. And it's happening more and more and more. People are getting outraged. And honestly, somebody said to me last night, John, all the business owners want to do something. They want to step up. They want to sue the governor. They want to fight back. But as one entity, they're afraid to tie their name to it because the governor and the mayor are just yanking people's licenses, their health license, their liquor license, whatever it may be. So I may take the role of local voice for the silent majority because I don't own a restaurant. I don't own a business that needs a license from the health department. And I'll be damned if Governor Cuomo or Mayor de Blasio is going to come out and try to shut down my TV show because I'm speaking up on behalf of a bunch of people. But there are hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens of thousands of restaurants around the country who are facing the same thing. And if you don't start small and try to build some momentum, then you never start. So I'm going to keep you posted on that. If anybody wants to join a coalition where me and others who don't have to worry about our licenses speak up for those who are licensed, shoot me an email. My email is jt@liquidlunchtv.com. And I'm going to be meeting with people this week. I'm meeting with Lou Gelomino and Mark Fonte, two great attorneys who beat Mayor Bill de Blasio for trying to find Bobby from the tanning salon. And they'll beat this too. And I'm happy to help get out in the front of it also if needed. But we're going to take a quick break right here. Just 1 minute. Turn it around real quick. Open up a cold one. Joe Pinion's going to light it up right after this.
Welcome back, folks.
I've been taking my makeup off every day with the coronavirus wipes.
How's it working?
I'm still corona free.
Didn't even wipe your fake paint off.
All righty, welcome back. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm John Tabacco. We're buzzing through the day today on a thirsty Thursday. I poured myself a cool, refreshing martini. Have one with us, why don't you? Drop us a comment. A lot of people are finding us now on YouTube, which is good. I may stick with YouTube, who knows. But Drop us a comment, a like. All those engagements are helping us bust the algorithms. But let me know what you're drinking today. I am having a Panzoni organic vodka martini, straight up, freezing cold, no fruit, no vegetables, just alcohol, and it's delicious, by the way. My buddy Joe Pinion is going to join us right now. He is a Republican strategist, philanthropist, business leader, and he rips it up. You can see him all over television. He's on every channel. He's on Fox. He's on Newsmax. He's on this one, that one, the other one. And such sane commentary, which we don't often find in this day and age. And, you know, if you're watching me, you know it's rare that you get sane commentary on this show because I'm barely sane. Or at least that's the persona I play on this show. Some people are asking me, you know, to be a little more moderate, try to be a little more tolerant of the left. I will not be tolerant when people try to insult our common sense. Some of this stuff is basic common sense that we're talking about here. We're talking about no cops, defund the police. Doesn't make sense. Black businesses are being crushed across the country. Aunt Jemima is gone. Uncle Ben is gone. The Eskimo pie guy is gone. The Land O'Lakes butter Indian is gone. Somebody put up a cute meme the other day. I think it was Amal or one of our viewers that said that the new Land O'Lakes butter has Land O'Lakes. And they used to have this nice little peaceful Indian sitting in front of it. And someone said they took the land, they took the Indian but kept the land in the Land O'Lakes. Some breaking news while we wait for Joe Pinion to join us right here. Letitia James, New York State Attorney General, says she has filed a lawsuit to dissolve the National Rifle Association for years of self-dealing and illegal conduct. The NRA is fraught with fraud and abuse. No organization is above the law. So now here you have it again. And this should just bolster anyone who's thinking, do I want to vote for Donald Trump? Well, he annoys me with his tweets. And, you know, he's got some crazy hair. And I don't like when he says this. And, you know, they say he's a racist. I don't think he's a racist. I mean, is he a racist? I don't know. Is he a racist? No, he's not a racist. But now you have a quite progressive left-wing Democrat who's the Attorney General of New York State in the middle of a pandemic when people are going out and getting guns faster than ever before in history. She wants to decimate the NRA, the National Rifle Association. So you got Joe Biden's got Beto O'Rourke on his team. And Beto O'Rourke, you may remember when he was running in his failed bid for presidency, Beto was asked, would you confiscate people's guns? And he said categorically, damn right, I'm coming for your guns. This is what you have to look forward to if you're thinking about voting for Joe Biden. And we got a lot more on Joe Biden right now. We're joined by my good buddy Joe Pinion. He is a Republican strategist, philanthropist, business leader, but lights it up all the time. Joe, this Biden VP pick is just dragging on and on and on. Many people are saying it's because that's really, people don't usually vote for vice president, but this is going to be one of those times where you got to vote for the vice president because that's who's probably going to be running the country.
Well, look, I think it goes a little deeper than the VP pick. I mean, you know, there's that old saying my grandfather used to say, show me your friends and I'll tell you who you are. And people might like Joe Biden, but he's made some unusual friends as of late. He's got AOC whispering in his ear. He's got Simone Sanders whispering in his ear. He's got Bernie Sanders, you know, basically trying to hold powwows with him. So, you know, I think Uncle Joe is not the same as what President Grandpa Joe would look like. So I think there's a lot of things that American voters should be concerned about. But I don't know for you, but for me, it seems as if Democrats keep trying to find ways to give President Trump the election. Because just when we spent the last month talking about the enthusiasm gap, whether people will find ways to the polls, here comes Letitia James doing her best James Comey impersonation, running to hold a press conference to basically wake up about 100 million gun owners all across this nation, saying that, yes, the rumors of the liberal infatuation with guns is not overblown. And we are, in fact, coming to not only dismantle the NRA, but to get all the gun owners that are those 5 million self-identified members.
Right. So, and this is, this is right along the lines of what I've been talking about. You've been talking about for a while. Women overall care most about safety. And the women I'm talking to who don't even love Trump, they don't love, his tweets, they don't love his sarcasm sometimes, but they're sitting there saying, wait a minute, they want to take away our cops, okay? They don't want our kids go back to schools, and now they want to take away our cops and our guns at the same time. This is like a rallying cry for Donald Trump voters.
Look, security is and has always been a women's issue. National security is a women's issue. Local security is a women's issue. Personal security is most assuredly a women's issue. It has always been that in politics for the last over 40 years, most likely. So when you look at it from that prism, what Democrats are doing makes no sense. It seems as if they've convinced themselves, as they did 4 years ago, that it's impossible to lose to President Trump. And as such, they have basically gone forth with perpetuating their agenda, forgetting the fact that, again, in places like Michigan, in places like Wisconsin, in places like Pennsylvania, where they are so confident that Joe Biden can basically bring them back from the brink, those are exactly the places that care about guns, they care about security, they care about the fact that we've got children possibly falling into an educational abyss in comparison to their global counterparts when it comes to making sure that we have the preparedness and the best practices in place to get our kids back to learning because they're already falling behind before COVID. So these are the things I think that Democrats really haven't taken the time to weigh out because they want to have their cake and eat it too. It's their my way or the highway party. And there are a lot of mainstream Americans who feel left behind. And if their mainstream media had convinced them that somehow Joe Biden was going to be this palatable return to normalcy, I think what people are going to have to accept is that they are talking about a new normal. And that new normal is quite different from the America as we know it.
No doubt about it. And Joe, the new normal under Trump was African-American owned new businesses up, African-American home ownership up, African-American employment up big. And at the same time now, this COVID and these riots and all this other stuff, it's crushing businesses. It's crushing small businesses disproportionately, and it's crushing minority-owned small businesses way disproportionately. Why are people worried about what the Washington Redskins football team name is?
Well, look, I just thought it was, it would be comical if the consequences weren't so dire. You got people in Chicago, again, I think we talked about this before, palling around celebrating the fact that they're trying to tear down the Christopher Columbus statue. And meanwhile, you've got children being shot. You've got homicide up 83%. Those are the things that are affecting Black families. You got over 41% of Black small businesses that have closed their doors forever, 41%, right? So Black communities will be ravaged by the COVID-19 virus in ways that make the 2008 recession loss of Black wealth look like a pittance, right? So we have to deal with the imminent threat to Black people when it comes to actual safety. 100% of the murder victims in New York City in the month of June were minorities. That is the threat. Lack of business ability or access, that is the threat. These are the things that we should be focused on. Those are the things that you should want first and foremost on the mind of the president. And liberal evangelists on the left have tried to thwart the American push towards that type of systemic equality by focusing on the systemic inequalities of yesterday.
Joey, you put it in such eloquent terms. I just want to listen to you speak more. We're out of time right here. It's amazing that not one person in the whole hashtag Black Lives Matter Marxist movement is talking about 41% of Black businesses shuttering for good.
You would think that would be an issue
Yeah.
they would talk about, but alas, it is not.
Yeah, and by the way, for those of you out there who are keeping score at home, when businesses shutter, people are making less money. The inner city becomes more criminally charged. More crime starts happening. So you need cops, and they want to defund the cops and take away your guns. So it's out of control. But Joey Pinion, thank you so much. We'll talk to you soon, brother.
Talk soon, bud.
All right. We're going to take a quick break right here. We're going to come back with Dr. Natalie Koptiev. She's a pharmacist, and we're going to get into it a little bit on the realities around hydroxychloroquine. And I'm going to ask her if even cannabis is good in any way for people with COVID right after this.
For more Liquid Lunch, head over to YouTube, do a search for Liquid Lunch TV, and hit that subscribe button.
All right, welcome back. Just buzzing through hour 2 right here on a Thirsty Thursday edition of Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. I'm doing straight vodka today because my day did not start well. Many in the audience are joining me in a drink. We are live on YouTube because Facebook continues to aggravate me. I think they're trying to kind of block us. And we're doing better on YouTube anyway. I asked the people in the YouTube channel who was drinking, what they're drinking, and Miracle Whip said he's having a Dr. Pepper. We don't have a Dr. Pepper yet. We got a Dr. Robbie, we got a Dr. Lisa. And joining me right now is one of my favorite doctors, Dr. Natalie Koptiev joins us right now. She's a doctor of pharmacology. She's also somewhat of an expert in the cannabis area, which we'll get to a little later. Dr. Nat, how are you?
Hi, how's it going?
So the last time I saw you, you were at the studio, and we wanted to have you on, but your former employer did not want you to be introduced to the world. And then I have spent probably the last 6 months trying to get you back on the show. Yesterday you left us hanging, and now today we finally did it. So thank goodness for that.
Yeah.
So you are a great pharmacist. You've been working in pharmacies. You worked, I know, for the cannabis company. And just, I was asking you, I don't understand, knowing pharmacists, why hydroxychloroquine and its active agent Plaquenil are used in commonly prescribed drugs. Why are they so reluctant to allow people to take hydroxychloroquine to the point where the FDA has said that doctors shouldn't prescribe it?
So, first of all, with hydroxychloroquine, it's immunosuppressive drug. So it is used for malaria, arthritis, lupus, and a lot of them are saying that it decreases viral load for COVID-19 patients. Unfortunately, with hydroxychloroquine, there's a ton of interactions that people don't know about. Heart medications, alcohol, which is, obviously everyone drinks, insulin, anti-seizure medications, certain side effects like can worsen skin conditions like psoriasis, eczema, can cause high damage to the eyes in high doses, can also be very fatal. So if you're on an antiarrhythmic drug, can cause, stuff like QT prolongation, can cause murmurs. So obviously the FDA kind of had the risks outweighed the benefits. So they took it out of emergency use authorization.
So, Nat, Doc, let me ask you this. I understand what you're saying, but doesn't the doctor ultimately have to know his patient? And if a doctor says, all right, I know some of the studies say this increases heart rate, arrhythmia, some people, maybe with a heart condition or blood pressure, I can't give it to them. But shouldn't the doctor be an arbiter of his license? He's licensed. He's taken an oath. Shouldn't the doctor be an arbiter of knowing what his patient can handle?
Yeah, but the thing is, a lot of patients are asking their doctor, can you prescribe me this medication because I want it for preventative measures? A lot of people are walking around not even knowing that they have heart conditions or even arrhythmias. Not every person has to be put on a medication if they have an arrhythmia or any sort of, abnormality of the heart. So a lot of these doctors are prescribing hydroxychloroquine for preventative measures, not even knowing that these patients have any sort of heart conditions. A lot of obese patients don't know that they have these conditions. So it can be dangerous if they're taking it for prevention reasons, because they can be taking it more than 2 weeks at a time, maybe even more. And obviously taking it for longer periods of time, not treating a certain condition like, let's say, lupus or arthritis, can be detrimental. So there's actually, there was a huge case study published in Brazil, I believe. It was through the New England Journal of Medicine. Very reputable source. I mean, when I was in pharmacy school, I was always looking through that journal. They studied, I believe, close to 700 patients over 18 years old. And they started noticing that the use of hydroxychloroquine with azithromycin, which is technically used for upper respiratory infections, did not improve clinical status at a 15-day compared with standard of care. Standard of care being oxygen therapy, any other therapy without medication. So basically, it concluded that a lot of these patients had heart conditions that they didn't even know about and had detrimental side effects. So they really didn't see much of a difference taking the medication versus not taking the medication. So like I said, the FDA made this decision to revoke it. So if you are in a hospital setting where you're being monitored, specifically, obviously your heart is being monitored. Also, another thing that they've noticed was liver enzymes were going up. And, obviously that has to be monitored. You can't get monitored at home when you're taking these medications. So they're saying that if you're in a hospital setting or if you're put on a clinical trial, that's the only time you should be taking hydroxychloroquine.
So
unfortunately,
back in 2005, Dr. Anthony Fauci actually put out a paper related to SARS. And he said in 2005 that hydroxychloroquine did demonstrate some prophylactic effects in attacking the SARS coronavirus. I know it wasn't the COVID-19, but what do you think changed from 2005 till now?
It's hard to really say. I mean, obviously he's a very, very smart doctor. He's been around even through, the HIV decade. There's definitely something behind it, because if you kind of look at it, hydroxychloroquine is used for prevention of malaria. So someone who's traveling to, let's say, Africa or any country that has, high prevalence of malaria, the doctor is allowed to put them on hydroxychloroquine for about 2 weeks before they even enter the country. Mm-hmm. So if you kind of think about it, yes, there is some sort of background to it as to why hydroxychloroquine can help with that. But again, there's not enough studies done specific.
Mostly anecdotal. The big study that everyone's talking about is this Brazilian study of 700 people. I get it. You know what I mean? I just don't know how some of these doctors are out there putting their name and their license on the line saying that it works for them. So it's strange. But listen, we got a minute left. I want to ask you this. I know you're kind of an expert in cannabis. Are there any positive effects to using cannabis to fend off the coronavirus?
Again, studies. FDA still hasn't approved cannabis as a treatment for any sort of conditions. It's still a very holistic approach. I think it definitely has a calming effect on someone's body. So I think, obviously, alcohol and marijuana have been
okay. So that's not her medical opinion, but I think we would all roundly agree that if you have anxiety about COVID, some alcohol and cannabis may or may not help, but it probably won't hurt unless you abuse it.
Again, there's no clear studies yet with marijuana. It's still not FDA approved.
All right.
Beneficial for the anxiety, the stress, and just more of a calming effect for people who.
Nat, thank you so much. That's Dr. Natalie Koptiev. She's one of the great friends of the show, and now hopefully we can get her back more often. Quick break, back right after this. All right, welcome back. You're watching Liquid Lunch on Biz TV. It's a Thirsty Thursday, and if you are thirsty to hear about the hottest topics around and break them down with my two good friends, Democrat and Republican, join us right now to mix it up. On the right, my buddy John Burnett is with us. He's with us every week. He's a managing director of One Empire Group and columnist for Newsmax, one-time Republican candidate for New York City Controller. And David Eisenbach is with us. He's a historian, Columbia University professor, and one-time Democratic candidate for public advocate. Guys, the big news the other day, the blast in Beirut. I mean, that thing looked like a small nuke went off. JB, what do you think really happened?
Well, according to the Wall Street Journal and other credible news outlets, somebody made a bad decision about 6 years ago to store a lethal, if you will, element by a port. I mean, of all places, why would you store something that's highly flammable, explosive in a port area like that? Now, 300 residents are looking for new homes. I mean, 300,000 residents are looking for new homes. Over 100 people dead. That death toll is steadily rising. This is just a bad decision, right? And people are already questioning the government in terms of economic opportunities. This is only going to set them far back amid a global pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, 2,700 tons of bomb-making material you're going to store in downtown Beirut, of all places, of all cities on earth. That's somebody made that choice. Whoever it is, they got to pay. That's for sure. Because if this is an accident or whether it was some sort of sabotage, nonetheless, that was a terrible decision.
So let me ask you this, guys, because Jess, one of my producers, she's got family in Lebanon and in the Middle East. Jess says nothing happens by accident in Beirut or Middle East. And then the backstory that she gave me yesterday was that there were 4 Hezbollah terrorists who are in a UN tribunal being tried for the bombing murder of the former Prime Minister Hariri. And the verdict is supposed to be given out tomorrow, Friday. You think it could be linked to maybe them trying to cause all kinds of unrest and not get these guys found guilty? Or is it retaliation maybe? It just doesn't make sense that an accident, 2,600 pounds of ammonium nitrate go off.
Well, I mean, it could be either way. There's no question about it. But getting back to John's original point, whoever decided to put that 2,700 tons of amyl nitrate in the middle of Beirut needs to pay.
All right. Well, I'm ringing the bell.
I think someone needs to pay. But also, to your point, John, I think that we might have 2 parallel tracks here. Someone that made a decision years ago, a group of individuals, and at the same time, someone capitalizing off of that information to serve another political point.
That's what Absolutely. That's what it looks like to me. I love when these guys agree. Latest fundraising numbers out. Trump outraises Biden in July. Biden was on a little streak, but Trump knocked that out of the park. David, I'm sad to see you without the Met hat on because we finally got a win. But
because I finally got a haircut.
Yeah, all right. Now that makes sense. Let me ask you this. Do you think the whole defund the police and the riots in the street and everything else, is that waking people up to say, man, we got to get Trump elected because this is where Joe Biden's going to take us?
No. Sadly for you guys, what's happening is that the smart Democratic money thinks that Biden's win is in the bag already, and the high stakes, the high Democratic money moving into the Senate races. The Democrats are looking at keeping the House, taking the Senate and the presidency, getting rid of the filibuster, and then jamming a whole bunch of legislation down your throats. That's what's happening right now.
Wow. JB, that sounds like it could be catastrophic for our country. I don't know if I agree with David's premise, quite frankly.
Hey, John, just look at the fundraising money for Senate Democrats. It's off the charts. The Democrats are raising so much money for the Senate races.
Premise is off as usual.
Look at the numbers, guys.
Biden is full of gaffes. His best he hasn't even met his best yet. He just even even said something that causes a divide between blacks and Hispanics.
And yet it doesn't. And yet it doesn't matter. His poll numbers bear out
blacks
a
and
landslide.
Hispanics are not excited about Biden. And guess what? They're not even excited about Kamala Harris, one of the leading VP picks. He's going to need a lot more money. And you know what? President Obama and other, high caliber Democrats that are coming out now, in fact, Trump is closing the divide in terms of the poll numbers.
No, he's going
to need more money. Yes,
There's no
it
evidence
is.
of that.
Check the latest polls, David. It's actually closing. Why? Because things like defund the police. We even have Governor Cuomo on his hands and knees begging rich and middle class to come back to New York. Why? Because he needs to fill the budget gap.
I'm not sure what that has to do with
He's offering them drinks and taking them out to dinner.
Just look at the real clear polling averages. You see that he is clobbering Donald Trump in the general election polls. And then if you look at the state breakdown, he's got Trump by, I think it was like 350 electoral votes.
2016, David. This is the same talking point.
Trump in Florida and Ohio.
Yeah. David, I got to say, when I hear you talking about the race being in the bag, that almost makes me feel good, because that's what they were saying. And that's what they were saying.
The fact is, the smart, big Democratic money is plowing out of Biden. They no longer are concerned about that race. They're plowing it into the Senate Democratic races. Now, whether that's a smart decision or not, that's what accounts for Biden.
Maybe that's a decision. Maybe that's a decision of no confidence in Biden, and they're concerned about the down ballot.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. There's my man, JB.
Strategy, David. They're concerned about down ballot. They're saying that, you know what, Trump is likely to pull this out.
No, that is not what the Democrats are saying, John.
Let's check his power by putting money into Senate
I think they are. I think they are. If you remember, Hillary Clinton didn't do anything the last 2 months, and Donald Trump was like shooting into Michigan and shooting into Pennsylvania, and boom, 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 boom,
And now
because
Donald
they thought
Trump
they had it in the
pulled
bag.
Pulled out of Michigan. They're cutting back on their ad buys in Pennsylvania. They've basically given up on those states. They're now playing defense because they're behind in the polls in Ohio and Florida.
This is completely fake news.
Yep.
What the campaign is likely doing is saying, you know what? Let's see who he actually picks, because we might have to alter or slightly make some changes to our strategy.
Yep.
But trust me, they raised over $1 billion already, with still 3 months to go. David, I don't know what you're drinking. I haven't seen your cup today.
Yeah, where's the mystery coffee cup? Let's see what he's drinking, man. This guy. All right, listen, guys. It's getting out of hand with these social media companies. They're starting to call balls and strikes on who deserves First Amendment privileges. Now, Facebook and Twitter both sanctioned the President of the United States for a post where he claimed that kids are virtually immune to coronavirus. I think in the country, we've had 50 or less than 50 deaths of kids under 18. Is virtually immune fake news, or is that someone's opinion based on the statistical evidence?
Virtually immune is scientifically false. It's not even close. They are not immune at all. They can carry the virus, and then they can spread it to their grandparents, who are definitely vulnerable. So while kids are less vulnerable to die from it, that doesn't mean they don't get it. And so Donald Trump is once again spreading misinformation, trying to tamp down the panic, and people are dying as a result of it.
I think you just flip-flopped in your own statement, David. When you look at the data,
kids aren't immune.
The youth are virtually immune.
No, they are not.
Based upon the numbers that JT just had given you. That is why other major industrial nations are sending children back to school.
No, the reason is because
you can't go by the science and then start wavering on the science when it's politically when you think it's to your political advantage.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what JB's saying, and I got to agree with it. The kids probably are immune from symptoms, but
That
they're
is not being
carriers.
immune, fellas.
Okay.
Immune means you don't get it.
Okay. All right.
They
Fair.
get it, and then they can pass it on.
So we have to. We have to really.
JT, can I step in here for a second? Let me tell you the hypocrisy. Right?
Jay, we got 30 seconds,
English
less than 30.
Definitions of words.
All right. We gotta leave it there. We gotta leave it there. We're gonna run out of time, guys. Thanks. You guys are the best. John Burnett, David Eisenbach. They mix it up. I can't even get a word in edgewise. But thank you, boys. I appreciate it.
All right, guys.
We're taking a quick break. Come back and wrap it up right after this.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome back. I knocked down a couple of martinis in today's show because I really needed it to get through hour one because there was so much. All right, I don't want to curse right now. Anyway, we made it through 2 hours. Hook or by crook, we did it. And we'll do it all again tomorrow, right here, same bat time, same bat channel. More Liquid Lunch. Freaky Friday tomorrow.